you guys viewed that you guys were representing the people, right? Mm-hmm. And I always viewed the prosecution to represent the state. And I always, as a defense attorney, I had clients, right? As a prosecutor, it doesn't matter, for example, a sign of a sworn deposition, right? I would, as soon as that's signed, the prosecutor, in theory, doesn't have to listen to the victim anymore because they have enough to continue to put, and it doesn't, and not necessarily doesn't matter what the victim, the complaining witness, I don't want to call him a victim. I'm a very biased person.
I mean, you're a defense attorney.
I
That's
can't
fine.
help it.
Respectfully.
The complaining witness is kind of a lesser. It's not about them. It's about upholding laws and the behalf of the state, right? And
yes.
that's always how I view. Which, for me, which somebody who a lot of my childhood trauma comes from the state. I've always viewed that as I don't want to
say it. Safe space.
Okay, look at what the state has done throughout history in the name of whatever it wants to be in the name for, whether it's in Europe or in a certain time period there, or here. Right, in America, it is always about, it's always about business as usual, and the humanity is trampled within that because it's not about the individuals. It's literally about upholding laws so other people respect laws, so da-da-da-da.
Right, I mean, formally we represent the state as a prosecutor. You represent the state. That it is what it is.
Right.
There's multiple times where I had to explain to victims, complaining witness, whatever you call them in the moment, that I am not your attorney. I represent the state. However, if you have any questions about the process, I'll keep you updated, and et cetera. Because a lot of times they do get confused with what our role is, and you have to let them know that I don't represent you. I represent the state because I'm upholding the laws because someone committed a crime.
And I can tell she was in Queens.
Why?
Why? That's 100% a Queens demeanor.
90%.
That's not the way I was trained.
90%
How are you trained and let the people know your borough?
So I was lucky enough to be hired by Rob Johnson. And God bless the man, that's Bronx County.
Oh, you were in the Bronx.
And Rob Johnson, one of the longest running district attorneys in the history of the state of New York, was the best district attorney I could imagine. Okay. He, during our orientation training, he came down and watched the documentary about the Central Park Five with us. And then he gave us a lecture at the end, and he goes, listen to me. If I ever find out that one of my prosecutors that I hired and swore in did not investigate and make sure that there is no corruption in the case they are prosecuting, that would be the worst thing for me. I want you to investigate. I don't want to ever hear about a mistake, an error of a harm like this being done in my county. And then moments later after that, he swore us in. And I took that to heart. He used to come to my office and check in on my cases, and he'd look at case files. This is the district attorney, hands-on. And I remember they used to tell us, if you haven't spoken to your complainant on a complaining case within 72 hours, and they call us, I will take that call and I will come and see you, whether it was him or his executive or our division chief. And we took that seriously. I never failed to. The second the file came, I called every witness. I notified every officer. And it didn't matter if I had 15, 20, 30 new cases. That was my job, and I stayed late to talk to people. I met with clients after 5 o'clock. I never, ever blew off a victim.
Well, that's the job of an ADA. I mean, Queens was exactly the same. We had the same requirements. And when I say the state, remember, I'm in a county, so I represent the people of Queens County, essentially. And that is essentially the state, because you're not representing a specific individual. But you were required to call your victims. You couldn't, back then, you couldn't announce ready for trial unless your victim signed a supporting deposition. So how else was I getting it? By calling them, speaking to them. talking to them, but you had to explain to them the distinction of I'm not your attorney because I'm legally not your attorney.
It's true.
And that's, I think, the point I was trying to make. I was always in communication with my complaining witnesses because I had to be. I had no choice. But
Your duty isn't to them.
my duty isn't to them, and they needed to be clear about them.
Right.
My duty is to the people of Queens County, and that is Queens County as a whole, and that's who I represent. Because a lot of them would view you as their attorney, and it's like, I'm not your attorney. And you know why I say that? Because for example, on a DV case, they call the cops, person gets arrested, we have a defendant comes to the house. Who are they calling? Me. Call 911. I can't help you. I can't leave my house to come and arrest anybody. I can't defend you. Call 911 and let them go through the process. The case will come to me and I will call you when he gets arrested. I cannot do anything before that. And that's where the clarification needed to be made, because complaining witnesses essentially are needy, and they should be needy, but at the same time they have to understand how the law works as well.